I'm Professor Richard from the Keppe and Pacheco Trilogical Colleges, and my dear colleague here is Sari Koivukangas. I'm from Canada. Sari is from Finland.
Hello, everybody. Very nice to be here.
Yeah. We're here to talk about leadership. You know, this is a theme that has a lot of relevance today. People don't think of themselves as leaders, do they?
That's true, but everybody is a leader every day in some moment of their activities. That might be in the family, in the company, in the classroom. Any situations that we face, we have to take leader roles.
I have a client I was just talking with this morning, and she doesn't think of herself as a leader. But look at this example. She goes to a holistic healing center in her city. And she's recognized that the company there, the way they structure the office, could use some help. And she has some specific skills in accounting and administration that could help. And so we're talking about how she can take her skills and offer them inside this organization. And she has fear about doing that, right? So she has leadership skills in this sense, something to offer, some leadership to offer in a certain area, but she has this resistance. She has this difficulty to put herself forward. So what's going on there? This is what we want to deal with in our course. It's not the developing more leadership skills, which of course you will develop as you do our course, but recognizing how do we stop ourselves from being leaders? How do we block ourselves from contributing, from offering what we have to offer? So she was talking about this gift that she has, and we were talking about this resistance to her own gift. Look how strange that is.
Well, but we can see through analytical trilogy in science that people refuse using their talents and their qualities, almost as if they think that by using them, they will lose the talent and qualities, and not that they will expand greatly when put in practice.
So this client has this idea, and also the idea she has is that if she puts herself forward, then she's going to be trapped. She's going to be then inside a responsibility. You see? So this resistance that comes up, this is what we need to deal with. This is the psychological life. So inside our course, Be a True Leader, Leadership and Social Competence, we have this psychological life, this famous iceberg, right? Where at the top, we have what's conscious, and running underneath is the things that we don't see. Well, this is the purpose of our courses. All of our education is about this, friends. It's about this exploration of what's going on under the surface that we don't see. And that's blocking us, that's stopping us from going forward.
And how can you know this underneath, on the surface part? How do you get there?
Through our results. What we do in our life shows, or what we don't do in our life, shows what's going on underneath the surface. We make excuses, we justify, but the fact that we act or don't act in certain ways is all referenced from this psychological life, what's going on under the surface.
So you are saying that every action has an intention.
intention behind it. You understand what Sadi said? Every action or non-action has an intention. What is the intention behind what we do? So with my client, we're talking about her intention to stop herself from showing her gifts, from using her gifts. And you can say, well, that's crazy. It is crazy. And this is the problem of the human being. We are crazy in this sense, right? Not that we're drooling at the mouth and these kinds of things, but that we're blocking ourselves from using the capacities that we have. So true leadership, social competence is in this area. And this applies to everybody. In every area, we can understand more about this in ourselves to allow us to be more effective as parents, as teachers, as employees, as employers, as managers, as directors, as coaches, as counselors. In all of these areas, we have the ability to improve because of the course that we're going to be offering here.
So you are saying that we act more based on our emotions than what would be rational? And this is not clear for people. There is no perception about this.
Isn't that interesting? So how can the leadership and social competence, how can this be beneficial for all of us? It's in this area, the psychological life. Look at this example. Here's an example from politics. We always love to talk about politics because there the pathology is clear. So here's the General Secretary of Spain's Popular Party, Maria Dolores de Cospedal. She suffered a lapse while she was giving a speech, a political speech. She said, "Nós trabalhamos duro para saquear nosso país." She spoke this in Spanish. She meant to say, "Nós trabalhamos duro para levar nosso país adiante." So she's saying we work hard to how do we say saquear? To destroy, in a way, to destroy our country, to sack our country. What she meant to say was we work hard to take our country forward. The words are very similar, but she used the wrong word and didn't perceive it, right? And then after, of course, all the spin doctors come out and say, well, wait a minute, that's not what she meant to say. She meant to say, obviously, and people accept, okay, she made a mistake, but the mistake was an honest mistake. And what we know in the psychological life is that this kind of mistake demonstrates an intention, that she has an intention to make things more complicated in her country. She doesn't perceive that. It's underneath the surface, inside the psychological life. Just like my client, who doesn't perceive that not offering her services is an attack against her own gifts. This person, this politician, doesn't perceive how her actions are leading to destruction in the country, to problems in the country. That's the psychological life that we need to explore. Wow.
And you can apply this in many areas, in the company, in the working environment, in the departments. Many times, because of our inversions, our negative emotions, people destroy their work, their success, without clearly perceiving it. Yeah. And once they go through this process of conscientization, they can have more constructive attitudes and, as a consequence, better results for them and the others. So it's really fundamental when you're a leader, because it's difficult to be leader. At the same time, you have to incentivize people to do good actions, be creative, innovative, and you have to help them to stop the destructive attitudes.
Two parts, right? Imagine you've got a teenager at home and he comes home from school and says, school's boring. I don't like the courses. I don't like the teachers. I don't like the subjects that we're studying. I don't see any purpose for this. If you can help this young person understand that this is they're showing an attitude against their own development. It's masquerading as, what's the use of this, right? This doesn't have any use in my life. And they may not see the use for it at the moment, of course. But the fact that they're having an opportunity to develop, this is very healthy. This is very good. And they don't recognize their attitude against that. Imagine inside the company, the owner of the company or the director of the company comes with an idea to improve something in the department, and the department gets into this enormous resistance. This will never work. This is another stupid idea. You can see that there's this resistance to something that could be progress inside the company. A sales manager who never wants to hire anybody better than him or her, right? They're unconsciously working against the development of their own company. This is why we get into relationships that are not healthy. This is why we have difficulties working with colleagues at work. All of these things have psychological basis. They're not something that happens because of trauma in the past or the way we were educated or raised in our families. This comes from a psychological intention that we don't understand very well. If we can go down under the surface and recognize that, imagine how much progress we can have in every area of our lives.
So the iceberg is here, and Dr. Keppe says, we are what we don't know about ourselves. And this idea that we are about 10% conscious of our feelings, our thoughts, our actions, it is shocking. And 90%, we don't really have idea what's going on because our censorship, the censorship of society, and because invertedly we think that it's better not to know. So I want to forget, I don't want to see, by thinking that if I don't see, those things don't exist. But for a person who wants to develop in his career, in his life, spiritual life, relationship, to help his family, it's necessary to learn about this hidden part.
Because if you're, like all of us, you're thinking, well, I could do more. Do you have that feeling that there's more that you could produce, more that you could do, more that you could offer? Do you have that feeling? That, what's happening there is there's something under the surface there that's blocking your development, your progress in that area. If your health is not as good as it could be, you have a sense that things are going wrong and your body is starting to break down. All of these are evidence of this psychological life. So this applies to every area of our existence. Every area of our lives is affected by what's going on underneath the surface that we don't recognize. So we're being driven by what we don't know. And look at that. The positive side of this is when we know about ourselves, then we become much more, because we have this more knowledge that we didn't recognize before. Instead of being dominated by the parts we don't see, we're being dominated by more consciousness. We're making more conscious choices, more conscious actions. Imagine the impact that can have in your life.
So this is basically what we work on in the courses. And we work with analytical trilogy in languages. The science from Dr. Keppe that we base on is called Trilogy, because he made the union of theology, philosophy, and science. Because these three elements in society, they are separated, taking us to the very, very sick society. And by uniting them, unifying them, we can have better understanding of human being, our existence, and the world. And analytical, because it's a scientific method that based on client analysis, psychoanalysis, to come to these conclusions.
So this, what Dr. Keppe has done here, as scientists around the world recognize. Here's one, Arnold Kaiserling, a great German philosopher, said Keppe hasn't really synthesized theology, philosophy, and science, but rather he's found the unity that exists in these three fields. So look at that. If we're having a health problem, a physical health problem, that has a relationship to something psychological, maybe even spiritual inside ourselves, emotional. Right? We can't separate those things. Our leadership is the same. If we're having difficulties dealing with a teenage son or dealing with a difficult employee at work, the reasons we're having difficulty are not in the other person. They're in something that's inside us, unresolved, badly resolved. If I haven't resolved it in myself, I'm going to have big difficulties with my teenage son, because he's going to reflect exactly the same problem that I have back to me in a very dramatic way because they don't mask so much, right? Kids. And same with the employee at work or the driver in traffic or the salesperson you're dealing with as you're trying to buy something or when you're selling something. All of these processes, we're having these conflicts, these difficulties because of things that are going on under our surface of the iceberg, not because of the other person. That's huge, isn't it?
It's huge. And then we have the discovery of inversion Dr. Keppe made in 1977, that it's like one of the biggest discoveries ever, where he notices that human beings act upside down, seeing something that is good as bad for them. Like the case of your client, something that would be very good for her, responsibility, development, she sees as something harmful for her. Or the opposite, to see something that is bad, I go after that because I think it will bring me benefits. And it's huge, the perception of inversion, and starting disinverting the leadership roles, our communities, our workplaces, our families.
Churches, our social organizations, our stores and companies.
Yes.
All of these things.
So that's what we are working with, teaching people how to disinvert the inverted things.
Imagine a salesperson who has a negative idea about earning money. Imagine how that person can hurt their own development. Or, the other hand, they have the idea that they always have to get an advantage in every negotiation they do. So they end up sabotaging their clients, and their clients don't return. They don't have return customers. They recognize this guy is always trying to get an advantage from me. All of those things going on, that's an attitude inside the person that many times they don't recognize, or they think that it's advantageous because of this inversion. So if we can start to perceive this process, it changes everything about how we do business, about how we treat other people, about how we treat ourselves and our own health and well-being. Changes everything. So here's Dr. Keppe. This is a great scientist.
He has a huge curriculum from the studies in Vienna with the great leader of area of psychotherapy.
Yeah. 96 now and still working. So he's been working in this field for over 70 years, developing, going deeper and deeper and deeper, and providing orientation for the psychological perspective on the planet, not just psychological, but especially in that area. So it's an enormous benefit for you to be studying in this methodology. He has his own society, his own method of treatment, integral psychoanalysis, that we use directly in our courses. And this is a method for treating all of the problems that the human being brings. So psychological, social, organic, or physical, even spiritual problems. People don't think about having spiritual problems in work, but this happens, you know. The person has an attitude that helping others is detrimental to myself. That's a spiritual problem, right? Because even in all the religious orientations of the world, we have this law, you know, treat others as you would have them treat you. This is the golden rule. And it's everywhere in all of the cultures of the society. But we don't follow it. Why? Because we think that it's disadvantageous. I'm going to lose something.
It's very interesting. Everybody knows, intellectually we know, but in practice we do the opposite. Yes.
So here's our course, based on what this science provides. Okay, so all of the work that Dr. Keppe and Dr. Claudia Pacheco have done, we haven't talked about Dr. Claudia Pacheco, but she's a huge orienter of our university, the founder of our university. What their science is providing comes into books, journals, TV and radio programs, short courses like we're developing now, undergraduate programs, postgrad programs, therapeutic tourism. Oh, there's a wonderful title. I think it's a new, I'd never heard that before. Languages, psychoanalysis, congresses, magnetic technology. So because of this discovery of inversion, Dr. Keppe has been able to enter and analyze every field of human activity and find the inversions. And by seeing the inversions, it provides a psychoanalytical, therapeutic view of every area of human function. So every area that we work in has this transdisciplinarity, right? Transdisciplinary. You're dealing here with a problem with your teenage son. That's also a physical, spiritual, theological, philosophical problem. All of those areas come together in one. It brings a holistic approach to everything that's very, very exciting and very effective.
And here we come to our leadership and social competence, which is our new course using analytical trilogy. It's composed of 10 hours of study to get started with. And there is online sessions by Google Meet, 1 live introductory session and 4 live sessions that are the subjects we are going to study. We are going to show them in a minute. And there are 4 self-study sessions also to support the conversations on the online sessions.
It's very doable, 5 weeks, and you get this introduction to this world that once you touch in, you'll want to start developing more. So we'll have more courses. And of course, we have many courses already ongoing that you can be part of and participate in different languages, by the way. We're doing this one in English, but we have many courses in Portuguese, Spanish, other languages too, including Finnish. Right?
Yes. So what are we going to study?
The hidden man.
The hidden man, revealing the unconscious elements. So we are going to study deeper this question of iceberg and how to access, how science has discovered since the time of Freud, how to access this and how Dr. Keppe has developed these techniques. And why is this so important? As Dr. Claudia Pacheco says, knowledge of the human mind is mandatory today. There are so many conflicts in human relationships, at work, in all professions, that if you don't understand what's going on in people's minds, you will never truly succeed in your profession or your life. This should be taught in all schools since we're children.
Yes, absolutely. Well, in fact, we notice working with young people with this methodology, it helps them a lot to be able to deal with the stresses, the challenges of being in relationships, just of learning, of doing tests, of going through the whole process of trying to enter university. You know how difficult these processes are. The young people have a much better success rate here because of this understanding they have, not only of other people's minds, but their own minds, how they work.
That's going to be module 1. Then we have the module 2.
Dealing with the enemy.
Yeah,
dealing with evil.
Evil, bad.
Problems, difficulties, stresses, difficult customers, impossible colleagues, right? Dealing with the infiltration of other companies, the competition between companies. All of this we see as an enemy, right? As an evil. But evil, in a philosophical term, doesn't exist in itself. It's a creation of the human being creation. It's actually not really a creation. It's the fact that we create this when we resist goodness. So evil is not something that has its own essence. It's a denial, distortion, or destruction of goodness, truth, and beauty. The essence of life, goodness, truth, and beauty. We resist that, like the client I was telling you about at the beginning, or the teenager we were talking about, right?
This concept is so hopeful because once you understand that it's easier to be successful, to be healthy than we first thought, because mostly we think we are victims. And once we see that person can only be sick if there is health in the basis, and your client probably has many qualities, many talents that she can apply and do her work. So in the basis, there is something good. As you can see in the graphic from Dr. Keppe, evil is an attack on goodness, truth, and beauty. But the reality still relates to goodness, truth, and beauty, and we are going to understand this in more depth in the course.
We're going to understand how we attack our natural goodness, truth, and beauty. Once we understand that we do attack, and how we attack, we can begin to control that. And what happens when we do? The natural goodness, truth, and beauty, talent, capacity, success follows naturally. It's not something we have to, the 10 steps to success. Success is already there. It's already determined. We already have capacities. Our problem is that we block the capacities that we have. We deny the success that we already have. That's the big secret here.
Here we have a question. So, if evil is the denial of goodness, so what is sickness? Sickness is simply opposition to goodness. It's actually easier to resolve than we first would think.
So we get sick in the soul before we get sick in the body. We are opposing goodness as an attitude first before it appears as a physical sickness. You see that? So it's metaphysical first. It's in the area of intentions, of attitudes, our philosophy of life. That's where we get sick first. The physical part is a consequence. The physical is like a victim of this previous intention.
This will take a bit of more study to be understood. We are giving them many concepts, but don't worry, you can join the course and we'll explain with more examples, more details. That will be fine. Here we are showing the essence of the human being according to Dr. Keppe. It's beauty, goodness, and truth. But what happens then, Richard?
Yeah.
The pathology, the blockage, we could call it, our attitudes impede us from using all our qualities.
Big ideas, our arrogance, our envy, our attitudes against, these are pathologies that we sort of layer on top of our essence. So we have these attitudes against goodness. What's interesting in Keppe's work, as Sadi was saying, there's so much hope there, because for Freud and many of the psychoanalysts, this arrogance and megalomania and envy, this was natural. It was part of the structure of the human being. Nothing we could do about it. It was part of our unconscious desire to die, right? The death instinct. Now, this is not the way it is for Keppe. For Keppe, these are attitudes that we adopt against our natural essence, so they can be treated. And once they're treated, you'll find that success, better results, comes naturally.
By treating all this pathology, the essence will manifest stronger. And we see that students studying at Millennium and Faculdades Trilógicas, they start developing their intelligence, their joy of living, their
affection,
creativity,
relationship, health.
Now, Module 3 will treat inversion, disverting upside-down perceptions. And there you can see the image of an eye. And Dr. Claudia, in her book, ABCs of Analytical Trilogy, makes this comparison. Just as the eye inverts the images it captures, and these are automatically righted by the brain, our perception seems to capture reality in an inverted manner. And for reasons still not completely clear, the perception frequently remains inverted in our interior, leading us to feel that goodness is evil and evil is good. Here is the big problem.
This is it. Just an understanding of this will change your life. I can guarantee you. Well, this is, and what is leadership in this sense? Leadership is offering something of who you are to the world, offering your gifts, your talent. This is leadership. This is not leadership, not the position. It's the spirit, the way you are in your life. If you can present your capacities, if you're freer to offer what you have to offer to the world, this is leadership. People are not doing this. People are sitting on them, like they're sitting on this mine of wealth, sitting on their talents. So this is leadership.
Leadership is a spirit. That's very beautiful. And the spirit of entrepreneuring, doing things together, dealing with difficulties, dealing with people.
Beautiful, isn't it?
That's
I get very excited when we talk about this course. And then social competence and health, right? What the relationship between this psychological work that we're doing and even this sort of achievement work we're doing, what's the relationship between that and health? Well, you can imagine if you're feeling better about what you're offering in the world, you're going to be much healthier. You're going to be much more charismatic, much more energetic, much more nice to be around, right? Humanity urgently needs brains, my friends, intelligent individuals who can help it to survive this present difficult phase, dominated as it is by people and groups who are extremely sick. Sick in the sense that they're impeding their essence to come forward. They're acting against their own nature and against the nature of the planet. Today, as never before, there's a terrible lack of values. There's tremendous attitudes against being good, and we need to deal with that. We need leaders in this sense, right?
And that will bring health for the leader and for everybody. So in our course, 5 weeks, and you get your certification from Faculdades Trilógicas. And now if you want to participate, here are the dates that we are going to get together, starting from October 20th and going up until November 17th. We'll meet on Fridays from 6 to 7 p.m. Brazil time.
That's 5 p.m. Eastern time in the United States.
And if you want to get to know more about the course, we have put up a site, fatrinosasenhora.edu.br/leadership and social competence that you can visit. Or you can speak to Monica through WhatsApp and telephone. Here is her phone number to get more details and make your inscriptions to get started with this idea of leadership.
We've kept this price very reasonable. There are many reasons for that, of course. One is that we want Dr. Keppe's work to be in the world. And so we make this available for people, right? This money is not the objective of what we're doing. So we have a price, of course, because you need to contribute with your financial resources to the benefits that you're getting. So there is a price on it. But this is about changing the world, really. It's not about becoming better human beings, although we will become better human beings. It's about offering more of ourselves to help the world to get better. So our goal is always related to this. And this is Dr. Keppe's spirit has been since he started his life. Actually, it has been this idea. How can we help the human being to be healthy?
And we are inviting you to join us.
Yes.
I hope to see you October 20th.
Blessings, my friends. See you.